Welcome to Axel Technology. My name is Enrico Vaccari. I'm sales manager in Axel. I'm with Claudio Astorri, radio specialist. Today we're going to tell you about DIGIWARE, our music scheduling software. And for this session, I invite you to send us questions. You can use on the right corner, you see a bell in a YouTube chat. So feel free to put your questions, and I will interrupt Claudio during the presentation, and we will try to answer you in real time as much as possible. Thank you to Stefano for organizing the event of today. He will take care about your questions from YouTube. Thanks to Gianluca, who's directing the event. So as we said, now we are talking about DIGIWARE, the scheduling software, and Claudio.
Thank you.
Please.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're well, wherever you are watching us from. So let us step into the world of music scheduling. Just a second after having reminded you that the software you will watch and see today, DIGIWARE, is part of the Axel Technology Radio Suite. You can find more details on the website, on Axel Technology's website. If you look at radio automation, you will find DJ Pro, which is the on-air system we already described in a previous webinar. Maybe in the future we will have another one, I don't know, Enrico, but we already focused on DJ Pro. We already focused also on VJ Pro, which is the visual radio part of our suite. We have already had a webinar regarding RAMCOM, which is traffic scheduling and business. Today we are focusing on DIGIWARE. DIGIWARE and RAMCOM are sort of companion to DJ Pro to enhance the characteristics, the performances of DJ Pro regarding both the traffic scheduling and the music and audio scheduling. So this is where we are. We are in the Axel Technology Radio Suite, and we are taking care of DIGIWARE, which is music and not only music and audio scheduling. Let's have a look at the software. Very simple, very easy, but let me say very powerful, and you will see that this software provides you with a very important key that music programmers like, that is freedom. When it comes about freedom, you know what this means. It means that you can exactly execute your programming plans, your programming ideas with no constrictions, no forced paths, but freedom needs to be underlined because it allows you to create whatever you want. What does it mean, whatever you want? Let us start for an example from the several parts of the software. We have, of course, the library. In this case, we have the library of audio and data into DJ Pro. But here in DIGIWARE, we can access easily policies, which means rules, essentially. We have clocks, and then we have the scheduler. This is the very basic organization of the software. So media, again, in DJ Pro are the base, and then you go up and you go with rules, with clocks, and then at the highest point, you have the scheduler working for you. Why I'm saying that you get freedom from DIGIWARE? Because you can set rules and you can set clocks exactly as you want. And this is power. This is the capability of developing your potential. I would like to start from clocks, if you don't mind, because this is quite, from categories, if you don't mind, because this is really the starting point, because it's rules that affect then clocks, very relevant. So let's go to tables and to see what categories are about. And in this moment, in this database, you see just a few categories. What is a category? The category is a group of songs that must be played by the software roundabout with the same frequency. So if I decide that I have, for example, a gold category, which means basically all these songs, Okay, I'm just thinking that all these will play probably one time per week or one time each 2 days or whatever, but I imagine that those songs will have certainly something very close regarding the frequency of their respective songs. In this case, we have a good example, I would say, because we have the main categories that I'm sure you already have in your databases or in your radio activity. So we have an example for contemporary music, for that category that normally is named currents. We have here hit, that is really a current category. Then we have recurrents. Normally, these are the songs from 6 to 18 months ago that are not more hits, but not oldies yet. Very hot category. And good programmers do make a great use of recurrence. And you can set here, you see a recurrent category, but this is not something that you must do, of course. It's something that gives you, of course, more power. Then we have also, as I told you, a gold category, for example. Then we have other one. We have fillers. We have gold for television. We have other categories here. But again, we cover the three main objectives. What can we do with categories? Of course, we can describe and decide particularly which songs are connected to each category, of course. And this can be done very easily and with powerful tools. But what we can do here is give to the category some first important rules. For example, the priority. How much relevant in the programming process is this category? This will then, in the scheduling process, also mean, is this a category that I should program before or after other ones? Because you know, when this is another part of freedom, because when you program the currents before the rest, you will have a certain schedule that will be created, a certain playlist that will be created. If you start with another category, the result will be different. And so deciding what is the first category that must be displaced and placed in the empty log is very, very relevant to set, of course, the other categories and the way the other songs of the other categories are selected. So who knows programming knows that priority and pass order are relevant words. You can, of course, decide how many plays per day should be the maximum. This screen is really very relevant. And you will see something here also that is interesting. You see also here policy. At present time, we will see then the policy screen. We have 3 policies set. You can have hundreds if you want, of course. The good thing is that policies can also be connected to categories, but can also be connected to air shifts of the day and even to clocks. So this is an anticipation of the fact that when you set a rule, you can decide really with great freedom where this rule has to be applied. And there are 3 different chances, as I told you, to how can I say, set specifically a rule. So we saw something about categories.
So every station manager, according to the format of the radio, if it's a hits radio, classical music, talk radio, they should create categories according to the final result. So heavy rotation. I can give my, let's say, my name, or
yes,
I can change the name of
you
the
can change
category.
The name. By the way, you can also very easily create additional categories, or say, I don't want just one category for currents. I want to separate all my currents into a power rotation, let us say 45 plays per week. Then I want the heavy rotation, that is 30 plays per week, and then a medium rotation, just 15 plays a week. So you can set this here, and I know programmers know what I mean.
So I'm not a specialist. It means that the category, it's different from, let's say, the classification of a song in pop, rock, dance, whatever.
Exactly. All that information, Enrico, can be set in the rules because, for example, if I don't want 2 consecutive rock songs, I tell the software not to do that, maybe in specific hours or in for specific categories. Yeah. I set this in a separate part.
Okay, so this is not category.
This is not category. Normally it's not category. If programmers normally understand that category is where power and repetition is there, okay?
Well, if I sell records, I have to classify like this, but it's something different.
What is the main job of a good programmer while approaching selection, music selection? Is that this update, the link between music and category must be updated at least one time per week. I must update the association of songs to category. Of course, I have not to revise all my 500 songs of the 80s, but of course, I have to check at least one more time.
I have a question for you. The question is how a recurrent song becomes, after a given period, an ordinary one.
Yes, this is more than a software, really a music programming question, but I'm glad to answer. Normally, if you have a song, a successful song among the currents, then you, at a certain time, you face saturation. There is, if the hit has been big, there is a time where people get tired. I don't want to listen to this anymore. Nice song, but please stop. At this very precise moment, you normally stop the song. And it's not an easy task. You must be a great programmer to understand when people get tired, not when you get tired. It's different. When people get tired, then you stop it. And you leave it in another category in DIGIWARE, which can be a simple parking category, where nothing happens. No calls of this category in the clocks. You stop the song in a parking category, so you don't delete the song. And after normally 2 months, 8 weeks, as it was stopped, then it can become a recurrent. Normally you have 50 recurrents. Normally you have not more than 50 hits per year. As the recurrents cover from 6 to 18 months, the good number is about 50. Once 18 months since the beginning of the story of the song has passed, then if the song is still hot, is still good, then you can rotate that song into the oldies. So we have just seen a trip between the different categories. And this is timing. But again, you can work in your desired way. You have not to follow me or myself on that. You have to create, you can create your own timing table for that. Okay, I hope I answered. So we talked about categories. I would like now to give a quick check on policies, as I mentioned policies in clocks. These are the only 3 policies we have set. I'm sorry, next time you will find hundreds, but these are very simple. We have, for example, explicit song that we don't want to play. Maybe we have some areas, early morning, second morning, afternoon, where we don't want explicit music. And then, of course, in this case, we set the rule you will see in a specific grid, and we will address those airshifts telling the software that this rule is active. Maybe an unbreakable rule, which means the software must respect the rule. Absolutely, whatever it happens. No explicit songs until 9 p.m. in the evening.
And so this rule, we have the freedom to apply the rule or at the specific clock or in the scheduling, which is probably better. Yes. Because you know, a certain clock can be scheduled at different time of the day, and so in some time of the day we can avoid explicit song, in some other we give the freedom to
And you
go
can
on.
even associate, as you saw, to specific categories. So maybe the rule applies only the currents, and you accept for the recurrence that an explicit song can be played. Why not?
Very good.
Okay, so this is again freedom. Freedom is a value, in my opinion, for programmers. And I want to explain why DIGIWARE gives you freedom. We have other 2 rules here. Hip-hop. We don't want 2 consecutive hip-hops. This is quite a common rule. I'm sure many of you use this one. For example, national music. We don't want 2 songs of the national one unless you have a majority of national music being played on your radio station. In this case, of course, you don't separate them, but you separate the international songs you play. Again, yes, and this is the 3rd rule. It's about nationality I was mentioning. And in this case, there is a rule which is a little bit different. It doesn't tell you what not to do, but it tells you, and this can be set, what you want that the software does. So you see, you can have something forbidden that you neglect, you don't want that happen, or you set objectives. This is another sort of freedom. So not only no rules, but also yes rules. In this case, we want a certain balance. Maybe in some areas, again, of the clocks or of the air shifts, we want 70% of international music and 30% of Italian in this case, but in any case, national music. So these are rules. Of course, you can set many. You can set so many, and you can use many parameters. You can use even mood, which is another common use. I want morning, you know, somebody in the morning is very, very noisy with music, high energy music. Then there are other ones who have the opposite attitude, that is very calm, very
Quiet.
quiet, exactly. Thank you. And so depending on your choice, you can give even rules regarding mood, and you can decide that in a certain area of your offer, of your 24-hour offer on the radio station, you have mood just from 1 to 4. You want to have a sort of middle.
Specify the range and the scheduling respect those.
So, and of course, you then add here, I missed the description, I'm sorry, mood control. And you describe here the rule, and immediately the rule does not become active, but again, the rule becomes something that is available for you to be introduced, to be applied. So you can be, again, free to create as many rules as you want, and then you decide one by one which are the rules that are really effective, that can help to give you the sound that it's in your mind. You know, the best compliment that I received, Enrico, as a radio manager and radio consultant, you make radio station sound. This is something very simple, but when your station has a sound, it means that the rules you gave, the bridge between, I would say, something that is emotional to something rational has worked, and you can maintain and you can give to your station a continuous sounds, because you have analyzed the music you have rationalized all the data and the contents, and you provide continuity with the sound that is unique to your radio station. So this is very important, but again, it can be tested. Music programming is not a job that normally has finished the day you set the software. Normally, you like to be a little bit a perfectionist. So day by day, you tend to add something, to modify something, and you do this to find the sound of your radio station.
Something I always heard with customers is that, you know, many of them likes to put a lot of rules, but there's a key. The first rule is to have enough song in the database. That, of course, the more you restrict the selection, and let's say the less is the number of available songs that match with all your parameters. And so the key point is to have a lot of songs that match all your rules. And also a selection of which rules are unbreakable. So
exactly.
The software is forced to respect. Maybe some of them are related to penalty, or, you know, if you exceed foreign music in some countries, that's very important. And which one can be eventually be broken? I mean, you can
You see in the screen, you can set unbreakable. In this case, we have many unbreakables. We exceeded with unbreakables, so we shouldn't do that. And we have one rule with weight 7. Of course, if we have a rule with weight 3, the software with this algorithm will help you, of course, to provide the best in order to be efficient with the highest rule. So it will tend to respect the highest rule as possible.
Yeah.
But back to your question, Enrico,
yeah.
You see, DIGIWARE gives you another freedom. You are setting a rule. We just said that we want 70% of foreign music and just 30% of Italian music, but DIGIWARE is not interfering with you. It provides you the freedom, but DigiWare is telling you, hey guy,
Watch
you
out.
have 102 songs of national music and 32 of foreign. You are asking me, guy, is saying the software, you are giving 70% to the minority of the song and not to the majority. What about? And you can leave this here, but you know, because you saw this data, it's impossible not to see this data, what you're doing. So the balance between your policies and the reality you have in your database is continuously faced here and reminds you that you cannot ask really desired things without a real reference to your library. Okay?
I will have a conflict with the repetition of song, of course, or my music department has to start loading
exactly
songs into the database. So.
Okay. So this is another aspect that gives you the fantastic freedom and the power that DigiWare is for you. I would now leave a little bit the rules, and I would like to go to the highest floor, not really the highest, but the upper floor, that is clocks. And we have a lot to tell to the guys watching us also about clocks. Why? Because we have here other forms of flexibility that are, I would say, unique. Never heard of a software that can help you to set clocks with any duration? I was always forced to respect a 60-minute clock.
Most of the time, this is, let's say, something you cannot force, and everybody struggle and, you know, spend the daytime to match the 60-minute and try to fill it up with the maximum accuracy, or else they will have issue on air.
Let us say we have a 90-minute show. I have to divide it into a 60-minute slot, and then the 30 minutes of a new coming slot. But what about the rules? Because if I want clocks and I have, for example, the second clock of the 60-minute clock being divided into different shows, how can I tell the software that I want the rules to be applied just to the first part of the clock? This is quite complicated. And as you have any length, any duration, I would say, for the clocks, you can be very precise in assigning also the right policies for that show, without any conflict with the next one or the previous one. It's very simple. You see here the clocks that we have in the system. You see different colors, and you see also different colors within the clock depending on the source. You can connect colors to sources, for example, to categories. You have the categories of oldies, then can be in a certain green or green-yellow, I would say.
Yeah.
Then you have hits that are orange. I like orange for hits because hits are something hot, something contemporary. And then you have, for example, recurrence, in this case being light blue. Why not? And of course, if you look at the clock, you immediately, not really immediately, but in the days, the more days you work, the easier it becomes to understand how you divided music, how your sequence of the events has been displayed.
Quickly figure out what you will expect to get in the schedule.
Very important, you can look here at the time, the total duration of the clock. You see here is 1 hour, 21 minutes, 25 seconds, and a little bit more than that. This is the duration of the entire clock.
Estimated.
Estimated. This is the estimated duration. Why estimated? Thank you, Enrico. Because the software is good enough, and for each category, DigiWare goes to the respective category, and it calculates, just before showing you the clock, it calculates the average of the duration of the elements in that category. Let us see, we have 1,000 songs in category gold. Before showing you the clock, DigiWare counts the 1,000 songs that are in category. At that time, you have the average song. Why? Because of the accuracy, because of the fact that we're working in a detailed way, and when I create a clock, I want to have a control of all the elements and know what could be the total of the clock itself.
we have a question. Sorry to interrupt you. Valerie, from Valerie. She says, we have 2 channels and 2 different guys working on music scheduling. What they need and how can they share information, schemas, and templates?
I think this is quite easy.
Oh, that's very easy. DIGIWARE is a multi-channel, multiple user application and software. And so, yeah, you can have multiple people working at the same time at the today's playlist. Maybe I'm in charge of the morning show and Claudio is taking care about the afternoon show. So we can operate at the same time, even with right management. So I don't want Claudio to delete any information, so I can change his permission. And so in the main screen, whenever you run the software, you can select the station. Multiple stations can also share the music database, of course not the jingles, because each channel has its own jingles. And what else? The license is a floating license, so it means eventually 2 people, like me and Claudio, we could operate with just 1 user, with just 1 license, because I work in the morning, he works in the afternoon. Each one from his own office or from his own computer and desktop.
Again, as DIGIWARE gives you a lot of freedom, I would like, in the case you have 2 different guys working, that you consider the fact that you should maintain the organization you have. Maybe one guy is making the selection for the stations and the other guy is doing the programming of the stations. You can maintain this organization with DIGIWARE, no problems at all. It really depends on how you organize workflow. You will see that with DIGIWARE we have timing workflows that go strict to the to very, very short and interesting times.
So talking about share information, we already answered. Schemas and templates. Now Claudio is just showing you our demo database where you see just a list with a few clocks, but as well this list, of course this list can be extended to thousands. And next step we will show you templates. I believe as templates you mean pre-schedule, so which is the structure of our scheduling. Maybe you may have, of course, multiple templates according to, I don't know, winter season, summer season, or special time of the year. So we will go in that very quickly.
So Valerie, for example, here we have just a short list of clocks. I'm sure the average radio station has many more. But of course, then, as Enrico was telling you, we can go to pre-schedule, and we made here a very simple grid. We use just the clock band 1A and the clock band 2A, and they are repeatedly in a sort of continuous repetition, one after each other for the entire day and the entire week. Of course, here you can be very detailed, as I was telling you, and you can set, of course, the duration of the clocks and the clocks themselves for your needs. And maybe in your case, some guy is working on certain clocks and the other one is working on other programs. I don't know how you're organized, but continue with your organization. DIGIWARE will just help you.
Yeah, I would say that DIGIWARE adapts to the existing workflow, and so
I would like to add that we have good clients, and I would like to add happy clients, both on the format stations and on the program-driven stations. Of course, you know these are completely different models. In one case, your station has one promise, you have not too many programs, you tend to be flux-oriented to the audience, so whenever they tune, they have that sound, they have that station, they have a different air jock, but of course they have the same sound. In program-driven stations, you have exactly the contrary. Each program trying to attract the vastest audience, with probably some conflicts even with the next program. So could be very different programs in the same station. Wherever you want to go, on one direction or to the other, we have all the flexibility, all the power to assist you and give you freedom.
Good.
I would say
I think we can just show in these pictures, in this screenshot, sorry. Now we have a new information. Before we were looking at clocks.
yes.
Which are independent from day and time. And now we step into the scheduling, and so we start seeing the day of the week and the 24 hours. So
Exactly. Let me show you something more about clocks. We were a little bit too fast on that. I'm sorry. I'm taking just 2 minutes because it's nice to see how easy it is to handle clocks. Again, you see here there is a list of the events that, of course, continue. Again, this is at present time, it's 1 hour. It's a clock of 1 hour and 21 minutes. We can decide to insert at a specific point. We are here at Bailando. We can decide here or in any point on any timing on the clock, we can add elements very easily. So you have here the chance of adding a time signal. You can add advertising. So if you have an additional cluster, I like this, comments, because sometimes you need to provide comments for on-air people maybe before a specific event to provide them some form of remind of what they have to do or to say. External command, this is another thing that I think Enrico is very proud of, and he likes presenting.
This is very relevant because a playlist, a daily playlist or scheduling is not made only of songs and audio, advertisement and jingles and so on, but there are also other elements that are a key point for the 24/7 playlist, which means we call it external command, and those are information for the automation, for the play out, for example, to stop playing or enable some routing switching or put on air feed coming from, I don't know, streaming, for example, or satellite or whatever, or eventually switch from studio A to studio B because in the afternoon the show will go on from a different studio. And so command can embed instruction also for hardwares like consoles and so on inside the playlist. And the operator, the joke on air, doesn't care about how complex is behind the architecture of the radio station.
You can insert also file audio. That's good because you may just have the need of inserting, I don't know, a piece of interview or whatever you want in a fixed way in a clock. You can do that.
Let's say I have most of the radio, they have people working from home or VIP or DJs preparing a program, 1 hour program that is a recurrent every week, and eventually they send us a file.
Yes. Then we have songs. So it's very easy. Let us just make an example. If I just want to add a comment, okay? I am where Bailando is set in the clock, and I simply click here. I describe what I want to tell. I'm just giving a message of please begin to register from here. This is a message maybe for podcast, okay? Because you can automatically start recording. And okay, you click it here. I'm sorry, I have not inserted a file path. I need a
I would say forget about that because the file doesn't exist.
Okay, but you see, you have now, I just wrote a simple C, not the true path, of course. But you see, after Bailando, now we have the rule. And of course, we can easily move that. Did we make a mistake? Click and drop. That's simple. And we move the start of the podcast. Well, let us start the recording for the podcast at the beginning of the hour, before even the time signal. Okay, we did it.
So nobody forget to record this show, because it will be done automatically.
Clocks, as you see, are very important. You have a lot of chances also to set the way you connect songs one after each other. You can, in each specific path of the events, you can really define whatever you need. So, very relevant, clock is freedom, is power. You can set them as you want. You have no limit. And the good thing, in my opinion, to have DJ Pro, to have also the on-air system connected, is as you saw, you can even decide to have some audio in the clocks as fixed positions, as fixed moments of your sequence. And this is normally when a music scheduler is separated from the audio library, that's not so easy to be set. In this case, DJ Pro and DigiWare are really excellent mates and allow you greater freedom both in policies but also in clocks, as you saw. So, good thing. I would like now to share some time with the scheduling process.
Yep.
That is another interesting part. And the scheduling process is in the area named playlist. And in concept, it's very simple. Let us go to the creation. These are the days that can be created, and we open, of course, one day. So we are now looking at what will happen tomorrow. So this is the schedule for, you see, July the 2nd. The process of generating a schedule, a playlist for the day after, for example, but you can program in advance as long as you want, or before even months if you want. Of course, you won't have then fresh currents, but if you want, you can do that. The good thing here is that the scheduler starts, and at your command, there is a command. You can decide the start time and the end time of your schedule. What the computer does, what DigiWare does for you, is checking all the clocks, then checking all the rules, and then after that checking in the library which song, position by position, satisfy the clocks and the rules policies. This is what happens. So it's like, I would say, a pyramid going up and down and rebringing up the result of all the work, of all the job. And we see here a nice, frankly, a very nice sequence of events that in some cases should be exactly the same, of course, of the clocks. But you can continue adjusting even if the computer has provided you a full resolution of all the positions of your 24-hour days. So you can still be in control. You can still feel your freedom and change things very easily. Maybe even moving with, again,
drag and drop?
A drag and drop.
Of course, you have warnings.
Yes. Are you sure, Claudio? Are you sure that what you're doing is okay? Okay, you're right. Maybe I think about it a little bit better, and I will do it later. So you can move things in the manual scheduler. You can even add elements, or you can change also alternatives. For example, we are looking here at, we have here this song, Nothing Breaks Like a Heart by Mark Ronson. Very nice song. But if for some reason I want to change that song and I want to put another one, I have here a list of other recurrents, for example, that can be selected, and I have an instant control also of the plays of those songs. That's not bad at all. I can even have a check of the rules that are violated or not, for example, and if I decide, for example, step graphic last passage is here, okay, we saw it here, artist, skippable, optional. These are all features that can be added to have more information. If I decide that this song by Kane Brown, Heaven, should be inserted, I can have, you see, a check of all the song, and afterwards, after having checked if rules are violated, if everything is okay, then I confirm, and the song should appear, and it appears, where we had prior the song by Mark Ronson. You have other commands that are quite precious, that of course are the way that songs can be, for example, linked. That is quite nice to be seen. In some cases, you can even have a check of the audio, for example. This is the Multitrack CGO editor. That is quite nice because, of course, from DigiWare directly into DJ Pro, you can adjust the mix between two songs.
So this is a timeline where you can do the editing, of course, not the editing of the audio, that's not the scope, but it's the editing of the playlist with crossfading,
and
levels.
So the programmer can even adjust, okay, and hear how two songs match, and in case decide to look for another song.
Yeah, for example, if a jingle doesn't match with the outgoing and incoming songs, you can eventually change.
The good thing is then you can even listen to songs and have an idea when you when you scroll the list for an alternative. Okay, I'm not sure this song is appropriate there, and you listen to the songs one by one until the sound fits your need and fits your idea of that certain position. So you see, DigiWare is very powerful in bringing you the power of DJ Pro, and I think that this is great. This is not for any software, and it's the advantage of being part of a very rich and extended suite.
This shows you how deep you can go into the fine tuning of the playlist. So it means you can just, you don't care, you just DigiWare can create the scheduling for you, and then you have the freedom to go start digging and really doing modification until eventually the audio editing of the timeline editor for the playlist.
I'm sure many programmers like to have the final touch on a playlist.
Oh, for example, in Italy, this is something, you know, every let's say
my playlist
director or artist likes to give his own touch at the end.
So this is another form of freedom. You can give the touch and make the sound your one. I would also add something about services, Enrico, because when you are in a music office, well, you have many things to do and many things to comply. You have, for example, to fill the forms that normally authorities ask you in order to pay music rights.
Yeah.
And this is very well served by DigiWare. That can be a very serious on this regard also, because I think this is the joy part. Then there is the heavy part that is reporting.
So there are not only tools for the man or the people in charge of creating the playlist, also, let's say, the rest of the team of the management can take advantage of the feature.
You can see here a list of reports for music rights that are ready, and I think many countries are served. I even see Lebanon.
Yeah, sure, sure.
I am sure you have many one from any part of the world.
Why of that? Because in every country there are different rules or reports. As you said, you know, the association of artists rather than the labels, and so you have to provide reports. And you know, it's the preparing report. It's really time consuming, a lot, and so everybody try to let's say, make these things much easier and especially automated if possible. And that's one of the goals of DigiWare.
There is a very interesting question.
So, Casey,
yes.
Do you have special advice for opera and classical music channel, or more general, are there different tricks to adopt for different gender?
Oh yes, we have clients using classical music. Of course, we don't look into their software because, of course, we want to keep your privacy in order. But what we hear from people working on the software is that, regarding an example with contemporary hits music channels or similar, of course, you have much less repetition. So I know, for example, in Rai in Italy, when you play a piece of opera, probably it happens to re-listen again just after 6 or 9 months. Yeah. So normally what I hear and what we hear is vast databases, huge databases, a lot of audio. But we have examples even in the UK, I think of channels like Classic FM, where in any case these pieces are offered in a smooth way without being a professor of music, but just being warm to people. And these stations are very successful. So I think, yes, you have to completely change the policy from any radio station, but probably the attitude that is serving people is the same. So it's still radio.
But and yes, there are different configuration. I can't say we provide you with a predefined template, but there are predefined settings. For example, there's a nice part of in the database you can associate every single audio. So let's say a Mozart, and where you have additional field to be filled with the Philharmonic Orchestra, Berlin Philharmonic, rather than Herbert von Karajan, the director of the Philharmonic. And you can also associate audio. So using policies and rules, you can define that during afternoon with classical music, you like to have the announcement of a song. So we are about to listen the Berlin Philharmonic with Herbert von Karajan, Symphony No. 5, and so on. So this is audio. Every audio items, every song can be associated to, let's say, announcement or at the beginning or announcement at the end of the song. And during some part of the day, you can specify, I want the song to be announced, or at the beginning or at the end. So I would say there's no predefined template or schema, but yes, you can configure it as you want, according to the format.
I think you should, because this is the power of the software.
This is normally what we do at the very first time for the installation. So if it's a classical music or opera channel, this is part of the startup and first setting.
What I would recommend to you, and I would like to talk a little bit also about the support team here at Axel Technology. A good thing is starting DIGIWARE also with, I would say, even a remote training, but a form of training, I would say.
I would say that software like this one, like DIGIWARE and Ramcom, of course, it's always very let's say, recommendable. I would say obligatory. Sometimes we really even prefer not to sell. I'm honest, because those software you really need to understand how it works before you can achieve the result you are looking for. So yes, with Ramcom and DIGIWARE we provide training. Can be a remote training, but it's something very, very, very important.
And the good thing is that our support people can, in some cases, help you in the process of defining the right policies for you. They won't suggest specific policies, but telling you what a policy can do for you, you will be able to make the process of setting the software quicker and better for your programming idea. So training from our support can help you really make times much, much shorter.
Normally, with software like Ramcom, it's like the tuning of audio processors. It's something you start with the configuration, and then time after time, you improve your settings to achieve, let's say, the perfect shaping of the scheduling, as if you were there doing the job manually day by day. So yes, let's say, we warmly suggest to have our support and consultancy for the startup.
As we are in an international webinar, and by the way, thank you to all following us. It's a pleasure having you with us. We have several languages. We have not only Italian and English, but
French, Spanish, Portuguese. I would say that technically, let's say any language can be supported. I mean, we can develop, we can add translations, of course. Maybe we need the help of someone who knows the language, but yes, we can configure according to different languages.
So this is quite important, as you are probably watching us from really abroad, from far away from here.
I think today we have people from Africa, Europe, and America.
So welcome to everybody, and yes, we can try to talk your language too also. We have also one final mention about utilities. There are a lot of utilities, so this is not just a software for a scheduling process, but it's really a companion for the music office. It provides you help to connect things, to provide reports to record companies or to your station manager. So it's something that has been developed in the years, I think many years, by the way.
Yeah, I would say this is something, of course, a software is continuously developing, and this is something, probably the grandfather of DIGIWARE, started in 90s, early 90s.
Early 90s, so 30 years of development. Just let me, so as we are not really ending, but we're approaching the end. By the way, if there are other questions, we're still in time to answer. Why should you prefer DIGIWARE? Well, first of all, if you prefer DJ Pro, if you have confidence into the great technology here at Axel Technology, DIGIWARE is really a nice companion that provides you really unique specs. For example, I want just to remind this, flexible clocks. We showed you. Flexible clocks means essentially that you can have clocks of the duration you want. You don't are obliged into the 60 minutes windows, okay, one after the other, but you can create longer clocks if you need to give to longer programs than an hour specific policies, specific rules to follow, for example. And you have more flexibility on that really to interact and to serve audience at your best. We don't have just that, as you saw. We have rules that can be set in the most free, I would say, way, that is connecting policies to categories, connected policies to a grid assigning different rules in different areas, and just let me remind this, also connecting to specific clocks your policies. And the policies can be yes rules, no rules, they can determine a value, and they can be very free. And this was a question on the previous webinar. Yes, you can even have added fields, custom fields in DJ Pro that can become rules into DIGIWARE. So if you, for some needs, you have to define a new field as you work for a classical music station, then that field can be transformed in rule and work for you in your entire 24 hours and in the 7 days.
So is DIGIWARE intended only for big organizations? That's my question for you.
I would say, of course, that large, medium organizations can take the greatest advantage. I'm thinking of also the multi-schedule of multi-stations.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
but
fine.
I know the answer, because it's also the fact that, yes, of course, for a medium, large radio station like a government, our national station in Italy is running DJ Pro on its channels. But yes, in those cases it's mandatory, because you need to be in control of the workflow, first of all, just in terms of management. But not only, we have a lot of customers, even very, very small organizations, sometimes it's one-man band, and where the advantage is that even a small station could have the needs to be in control of exactly what goes on air, with the needs to specify those rules, because this is not exclusivity for big stations, like a percentage of national songs or foreign. And so, yes, we have a lot of customers, also small company running DIGIWARE. I would say for them, DIGIWARE, it's even more precious because all the workflow can be automated.
Yes. I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I use DIGIWARE to manage a music TV channel?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, the answer is yes. DIGIWARE is available in two versions, one for radio and one for TV. Why two versions? And this is something you have to decide during the setup, because radio and TV, even a music television, they have some peculiar aspect. For example, the rhythm in radio most of the time it's much faster than in TV. Or of course, if we are talking about a musical TV, let's say a DIGIWARE for radio is good enough. And not only, you can prepare the playlist and the scheduling both for radio and visual radio. That in our concept, it's a little different from a music TV channel. But the answer is yes, you can prepare radio and TV scheduling with DIGIWARE.
I would just add that for TV, we have this wonderful tool. We had a webinar last week, thanking to Marco Branzanti. I was with him, and you can check in our website, axeltechnology.com, also the description of VJ Pro, that is the visual radio solution, that is, of course, powered by DIGIWARE as well. And that is really an excellent solution for your station.
All those bricks put together gives you the flexibility to configure your workflow. Doesn't matter if you're a big, small station with one single computer or a lot of workstations spread on the network.
Okay, I would say that in terms, today the scope was to give you an overview on DIGIWARE, and that's what we did. We also mentioned during the presentation a lot of other products, or let's say tools, that can be combined with DIGIWARE, and I repeat, the VJ Pro Visual Radio Automation, DJ Pro, which is our radio automation environment with playout, Rancom, the scheduling software, and you can find our webinars, previous webinars we did on our website on the YouTube area as well, and so feel free to go there and eventually have a look so you can have a comprehensive view. And you can count on Enrico. He's the sales manager. He's a great listener. I shouldn't say that. He's a great listener, so he's a great radio guy, because listening is vital for a radio guy.
I start listening with my wife, and I will listen to you as well.
And exactly, and starting from his wife, he can listen to you, not to your wives, but of course to you, and of course understand your needs. Of course,
not
Enrico,
only me. I think there's a team.
There is a team, exactly.
And you can
Simona,
address your
Ilaria.
question to Ilaria, Simona, Stefano, Cristiano, and so on.
Email sales at axeltechnology.com.
Feel free to contact us, and we hope to see you soon and next time.
And thank you to Gianluca Righi.
Oh yeah, the director, Gianluca Righi.
Supervised this program.
And Stefano Grego, who took care about the organization of the event.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.